In today's video, we're going to be talking with my partner and co-founder and head of development at Legiit, Jim Sabellico. We're going to talk about some of the awesome new features that we have coming up at Legiit, as well as answer all your questions and answers on SEO, web development, internet marketing, everything we got for you. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video and get started. All right, Jim. Can you hear us? You want to say hi?
I can hear you. Hello, everybody.
Thomas wanted to know your recommendation for a website that had high ranking, then got infected by hackers, and now the rankings have tanked. I don't really know what to tell you. I mean, if you fix the problem, the rankings should come back depending on what it is. Robbie says, any updates on the Google algorithm changes? I didn't know there were any. I haven't really had any problems, so don't know what to tell you. That was super helpful, right? Can you maybe be a little more specific on what issues you're having? We can go from there. So Jim, what have you been up to lately? What have you been working on?
Yeah, all sorts of good stuff. The biggest thing on the plate currently is new software I'm coming out with called Content Press. I posted about it maybe a week ago. It's a artificial intelligence powered content marketing platform to help people source and schedule their content. So pretty cool stuff. It's probably the deepest we're going on artificial intelligence and automation so far. So we're currently in like a invite-only beta stage, looking to come out of that in probably a month or so. But so far, really cool stuff.
It's like Devendra says, I have a website whose present traffic is 110K per month. I'm projected to take it to 1 mil in 1 year. What are the major strategies you would suggest to work upon? That's pretty ambitious, wouldn't you say? Just rank for lots and lots of keywords, and probably if you're talking about traffic, I would concentrate, not just concentrate, but I would make sure I add paid traffic into that too, because 1 million is a lot. So. Asen says, hi Chris, hi Jim, thanks for showing up. I will take advantage of having Jim here and focus my questions on design-related questions that could affect SEO. Here's my first question for today. All WordPress themes show link on the homepage to inner categories with the anchor text read more. That is not SEO friendly. Is there a way to change that link to the inner pages using the posts keyword?
Yeah, of course. So I definitely wouldn't say that every theme by default does that, because I've seen a lot of them that, have either nothing or similar terms. A lot of them give you an option to change it. If not, you could always dive into the code and actually just replace the read more link with your own text. It's going to depend on, every team's going to be a little bit different. So it's not really a question I can give you an answer like, step 1, 2, 3, here's how to do it. If you want, you can let me know what theme it is. I can always help you do that. But hard to answer without knowing that.
Yeah, back in the day, one of the rules for PBNs was to remove the authorship label in the footer, but developers got wise to that and they started making it a lot harder to do. And they would make it to where it would break the theme if you remove that. So
that's why you need smarter developers.
Well, yeah, but if you download some free theme for your PBN, a lot of times they would do that to keep you from taking away their attribution. So
it's also not worth that much time on a PBN either.
No, I agree. That's why I stopped doing it. Is the outbound link is just not worth getting that upset about. Tomislav says, hey Tomislav, how's it going? But it's kind of asleep tonight. Tonight, it's like 3 p.m. today.
Chris, what's going on in Legiit world? Let's cover that.
All right. You got anything you want to tell us?
I don't know. I don't think anything too crazy and exciting yet. Working on a lot of cool analytics stuff that should be coming soon. Just some reports based on, sellers' response rates, delivery rates, stuff like that.
So that'll help people pick a better seller when they go to buy something.
Yeah. The other thing we were talking about, which I think is pretty useful, and I'm sure a lot of people will give some insight here, is trying to help people identify better sellers, for what exactly they're looking for. How to find killer content, how to create a great logo, trying to help highlight the best sellers. I know that the featured sellers have been doing pretty well, I think you'd say.
Yeah, I think so. I think some of them would say also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have some cool strategies that are going to help grow it too, to help get more people on it and help get the sellers more customers and things like that. So
yeah, I think, of course, the more useful we can make it for everyone, the better it is. Way more than just, what's kind of going to drive the best traffic is way more like, what makes it an easier platform to use and why would you use it? And I think, helping people find the easiest gigs and getting the best results as quick as possible is definitely the way to go.
Great. All right, more on that as it develops. I'm trying to sound like a newsman. Robbie says, what is the best strategy to migrate a new website design and theme to a good ranking website?
FTP it over is probably the simplest option. If you're going to be incorporating new design and the same content, you could really just FTP your theme files over from one to the other, and then just reset everything up. Probably the quickest way to do it. Or you can always import your content into like a staging site, set up your new theme, and then just push it to live. Probably the way I would go about it.
A staging site. So you mean you don't make all the changes on the live site?
Depends. So preferably not. Some people are riskier or cheaper. I don't know what the right term I'm looking for is. They don't want to go through the effort of setting up a staging site or the added cost. But the right way to do it is 100% having a staging site.
Okay, I wasn't being at all sarcastic there.
Couldn't tell.
Thomas Lav says it's 9 o'clock there. Well, what are you doing on here, man? Go out and have some fun. Just kidding, buddy. I'm glad you're here. Raul says the question is about search volume. Do you ever get the amount of traffic that Keywords Everywhere extension showed for a certain keyword? Also, which keyword tools, search volume data do you trust to recommend? Okay, so none of those tools are ever going to be accurate, even Google itself. But it's a good ballpark, and Keywords Everywhere is probably my favorite for that. Google really screwed people up with that when they changed the way that you can get that data, but that's probably as close to, there you go, that. So hopefully that answers that. Keywords Everywhere I think is good. There's some stuff that does that a lot of people don't realize too. There's an option to like bulk upload keywords into it and things like that. So there you go. Asim says, Jim, the issue is that the read more is applicable to all posts. I found a way to change it, but then the theme applies this new anchor text to all inner pages. Could you please recommend some themes that allow me to do that change?
Way hard to recommend a theme off the top of my head without having any idea what else you're using with it. If you want to shoot me a message, we can always chat about it. Happy to help there. But there's going to be thousands upon thousands of different themes depending upon what you're trying to make your website look like. The other option is to just set it up programmatically so it only works on that homepage or the archive pages. Both are options. That's probably easier if you like your current theme. So both are options.
Okay. Jeff says, legit sort gig by due date. Yeah, we'll add some sorting options in the future. That is kind of hard. That's what she said. Stavros says, what is the most important part for ranking a website? Just mentioned that you would not spend too much time on PBNs. I really don't recall saying that, but the most important part is getting your on-site done properly and then getting your foundational links done properly. And then from there, the PBNs and the guest posts are like the knockout punch. So just follow those steps and you should be good. You're in the academy too, so just follow the steps in order in there. So you should go.
Do you want to touch on press releases at all in that mix?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the strategy too. Like that's kind of like my uppercut. So it's like if we're going to continue the boxing analogy, the foundational links and the social profiles and the citations are like your jabs and stuff like press releases are kind of like the uppercut, and then the PBNs and guest posts are the knockout punch, the overhand right. So hopefully that analogy makes sense. If you never watched boxing, that makes no sense, but Basically, they're authority links, but they're also not foundational links. So they're kind of like in the middle of it. Did you have something you wanted to say about those?
No, just figured we would chat on it based on, there's been a lot of discussion about whether or not press releases are still effective at all. And I know we had a featured seller, Nix, a while ago. I've always had good results with personally, and he's always gotten great reviews. He's got killer press releases. Just figured since there were so many questions and we are kind of, slow on questions here, might as well add that in to help any people who might be wondering.
Yeah, I use them in every campaign and do them a couple times a year. In fact, I just had one done for my agency site, so good stuff. Robbie says, featured gig was amazing. You guys are mastering this. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, you did really well with that. Kazi says, and this is my weekly apology for getting anybody's name wrong. He says, what did I miss? Jim was actually teaching us how to crochet a nice bonnet. So you missed that. Terry says, what up? What up, Terry? Randy says, hey guys, sorry I'm late. That's okay. It's not like college where we're going to bounce if everybody's late. Randy agrees with keywords everywhere. Menminder says, how much do you guys believe on SEMrush data? That's actually a good question because we have a different opinion on that. I'll let Jim go first.
I don't know if this is a different opinion than yours. I guess we're going to find out. I don't hate it and I don't love it. It's useful, but I don't use it as like a Bible. Main reason why is because it's always going to be a little out of date. If you're looking for SEMrush to do keyword research as far as find out, what the most trending topic is going to be, it's going to be hard because all the analytics you're looking at are historical. It's already happened. But, I think it's definitely helpful, but you need to kind of interpret it on your own to see what trends have been and then kind of project on your own where they're going after that. Taking a look at what the historical data is and using that to apply to now is just a little risky in my opinion.
I disagree. I think of the major tools, SERPT, Ahrefs, Majestic, SEMrush, I think it's the least effective one. I think its data is out of date and not very accurate. And the only thing it's really good at is it prints out nicer reports than some of the others. And the graphic is a little easier to show. But other than that, I don't care for it. Asim says, Jim, in a separate chat, you informed me about taking down your services at Legiit. Is there any plan to offer some services at Legiit? For example, speed optimization, design tweaking, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had actually paused it for a little while, but starting to slowly roll them back out now. Right now, there is one service up there for fixing your website, but definitely going to add on some more speed optimization stuff in the future. The only problem is trying to fit that into kind of a gig is tough, only because it's not really a one-size-fits-all thing. We talked in the past about speed optimization and kind of throwing plugins at it and what that's going to get you and not going to get you. And I think a lot of the concern there is you don't want to have a gig where you can say, I'll speed up your site for $20 in 2 days. Because, every site's going to be a little different. So it might take you 5 hours worth of work or it might take you 20 minutes. So I think just trying to make sure you give a quality product is what's kind of holding back the speed optimization thing. But definitely more than happy to help. If you want, you can always ask specifically. I can always check out your site and kind of help give you some recommendations in the meantime.
And when you said gig, you meant service, right?
Yes,
so
sorry.
Since gig is another site. Tony says, just join. What's the topic? We got Jim Sabellico here. He is my co-founder at Legiit. He's an entrepreneur and a web development expert. So you can kind of and you can ask whatever you like, but if you want to keep the questions to really take advantage of his expertise, talk about website design, hosting, that sort of thing.
Don't forget crocheting.
And crocheting.
Of course.
Randy says, do you suggest having a completely separate set or group of Web 2.0 networks per each client? Or can I use the same Web 2.0 network amongst all clients, mixed niches? Or another alternative, can I use a Web 2.0 network per niche amongst multiple clients? So what I do is this. I have a set of branded ones created for each client, which shouldn't cost you that much in either money or time, depending on how you want to go about it. And then I have some that are just for power, so that you can hit a bunch of clients with them. So that's how I go about it. I don't do niche ones because I don't think it makes that much difference. I think branded and power are more important. So Tyler says, love the sarcasm. See, that's kind of a deep statement. I wonder if he's being sarcastic and doesn't like it, or if he actually likes it. So could go either way there. Kazi says, my name was right. Oh, awesome. Do you check quality of services on Legiit, what they are offering, and how effective they are? Yes and no. Like, if something, I do have a person that goes in twice a week and looks for like scammy stuff, people that are trying to, just use it for links and things like that. And I have him looking for miscategorized services, but I can't possibly manually review every single service on there for quality. And even if I did have that kind of time and people were willing to do that, quality is kind of subjective on a lot of things. Like, suppose that someone is puts up a web design or a logo design. I might think it's awesome. Somebody might buy it and think it sucks. That's where feedback comes in. That's kind of where you guys have to make the cream rise to the top on your own. So hopefully that makes sense. If somebody's ripping you off, like they don't deliver what they say they're gonna, if they don't deliver at all, like they take your money and don't deliver, then you can appeal it. Or if it's radically different, like you order some backlinks and they give you a picture of their dog, something like that, that in my opinion is a scam. But if they do poor work, that's what feedback is. And we're gonna have scores to help you make those decisions coming up soon. So hopefully that answers that for you. Tyler says he likes it. Yeah, I know. I was just giving you a hard time, Tyler. Asim says, from a design standpoint, what would be the checklist for a WordPress theme to make sure the website is SEO friendly? For example, I always check that the theme does not produce multiple titles or multiple H2 tags. Anything else I should look for?
Bloat and file size is going to be an important one. One of the big problems with a lot of themes is they give you like 800,000 options that you can turn on and turn off. So file sizes are going to be large just based on how many different things are included in that theme. Apart from that, things like multiple titles, H2 tags, are usually simple fixes. So I would never really turn myself away from using a good theme if needed just for something like that, because that's usually an easy fix. In general, what I would look for is to find something that is well supported. In general, those are kept up to date as much as possible. And then just like I said, try and look for something that's maybe more precise to the design you're going for, rather than one of the download this theme and you get 800 website designs in it, because they're going to have a ton of options that you're not going to use. And the more stuff and the more bloat you have in there, the less helpful that's actually going to be.
Like that one that I got the other day where it was impossible to change that one image without going into the code.
Right.
Like I'm not an advanced developer, but I'm pretty knowledgeable, and I never would have figured that out on my own. I actually still haven't figured it out, actually. But next question is from Mike. He said, you talked about this briefly earlier, but care to share what helped you climb up back in the map pack? Yeah, so people that don't know the backstory on that, I was ranked #1 in maps for Myrtle Beach SEO for years, at least 2 years. And then when you're something, I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't make me sound arrogant. When you are exposed to a lot of people, some people, no matter how nice you are going to pick you as someone to dislike. And I had someone that really, really disliked me and took it more than just to the point of leaving more than just mean comments on the internet. And I had to remove my contact information. So not soon, but shortly after I did that, my maps ranking really tanked. And it took several months to get it back. The main thing was time, putting the information back after the issue was dealt with, and then time, but also Google Business recently re-added a description in your Google Business that you can kind of really take advantage of. And I filled that out and that helped. And then I did a branded Google Plus page like Jeff showed on our webinar a few weeks ago. And between those 4 things, that's kind of what got me back there. I also did a citation audit, and I didn't have too much to change there, but a few tweaks there as well. So those are the main things. So Manminder says, what is your suggestion about submitting a same video on different video sites? Or should we submit different video file on different video submission sites? If you mean like YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, and so on, it's okay to put the same video on those different sites. Now, if you're putting the same video on the same platform more than once, you're going to need to change the meta information or change the video itself. So hopefully that makes sense. Tony says, how many pages recommended to rank for local business website? Do you mean how many pages should a site have, or how many should you rank? Can you possibly clear that up a little bit? Asim says, Chris, why is it not possible to attach text files to our orders? We will need this feature if we want to send you an article to use for a PBN order. Jim, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. That should be possible probably the next couple of days. That's an issue we've been dealing with just based on a couple of security concerns that we're trying to address, so we make sure we don't screw ourselves or anyone else. So once we get that to a point where we're super comfortable with, which, like I said, is in a couple of days from now, we'll be rolling that out. That's
good. Yeah, I've been reluctant to say that, so that's kind of why I let you take that one, because I knew that was the issue. But sometimes hearing from different people helps. So Tony says, yes, exactly. How many pages should it have? There's really no minimum, but the bare minimum would be, depending on the type of business, definitely obviously you want a home page, an about us page, a contact page, terms of service and privacy. Other than that, depending on the size of the business, you might want to have stuff like testimonials and like services and location pages, and then landing pages for each location. So hopefully that makes sense. But really there's no one number, but I would at least have a home page, an about us page, a contact page, and the legal pages. Kirill says, in GT metrics, in the waterfall, what is post? Can you just read that one? I'm not going to read all that out loud.
Yeah, no, I read that. That's usually part of WooCommerce. So if it's a site that you have WooCommerce on, which I'm assuming yes, there's an option that you can actually disable cart fragments, and that'll usually help stop that problem.
Great. I didn't know what any of that meant, so I'm glad we have Jim here for that sort of thing. Tomislav says we should create a website like Keywords Everywhere, just name jerks everywhere, and create pages on it for people like the one who harassed you. Yeah. I don't think it'd be professional to say much more about what happened there, but yeah, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. Randy says, a legit suggestion. Now, is that a suggestion for legit, or is it just a legitimate suggestion? See what I did there? Can you either add a sort function to the messages area, or at least put the most recent on the top of the list? You want to take that one, or?
Sure. Yes.
All right. Simple enough. Yeah, a lot of people have been asking about the message, the newest message on top. I think that would help a lot. So we'll put that on the list. Menminder says, to get organic traffic from YouTube, should we do off-page SEO for YouTube video page? Yeah, start with the on-page, and a lot of times that's going to get you there all on its own. But then you can do off-page like some social signals and some Web 2.0 links and embed it on a single PBN. So that helps a lot. I'm finding now that multiple PBN embeds doesn't help that much more. So just doing it once is good, and then maybe dripping a little bit of traffic to it helps as well. So Tony says, do reviews help with Google My Business ranking? Jeff and I say no. Some other folks in our group disagreed. So I don't think they do, but I'm running a test right now, and once I get the results, I'll update everybody. Mayor says, if I have generated too many backlinks for just one URL, will it have any domain level effect or just that one URL? My first question would be, why do you think there's too many? And from there, we could troubleshoot that a little further. That said, yeah, it can affect it. Now, overall, it's probably just going to affect that one URL, but it can affect the amount of trust that your domain has, if that makes sense. So yeah, it can, but for the most part, you're probably just going to affect that one URL. But if you could tell me a little more about what you mean by too many, like how you determine that you have too many, I might be able to answer that a little more specifically. Asim says, do you recommend send the login info of my website to the seller over Legiit? Is the connection secure enough for that? Yes, yes it is. Now it's up to you whether you want to trust another person with that, but as far as everything that Legiit can control, yes, it's absolutely safe for that. Safe is one of the reasons some of the features that you guys have been asking about haven't been rolled out yet. It's also one of the reasons that we didn't launch sooner than we did. And that's because, without naming names, we've seen security issues on a similar site. And we don't want that to happen because we care about our reputation. That's one of the reasons Jim and I work together, is that work together well, is that we appreciate the importance of reputation. So Yamil says, who do I need to get ghetto on? Whoever harasses you got a problem with me. Oh, snap. I'll send you a name. Tony says, what do you think about Google stealing traffic from service providers like plumbers? Stealing how? Like, do you mean by, I guess I don't know what you mean by stealing, like by putting ads, or I'm not sure what you mean by that. Jason says, what's the best way to help with GMB filtering or Possum? I've heard press releases supporting geo articles, etc. Start with, excuse me, with the driving directions thing. If that helps a lot, expand your if it's a service area, expand your service area as wide as you can. That's a couple of good places to start, and then optimize your GMB as much as possible. So those are all three things you can start. If you want to hit up Robbie in the group, he can give you a little information on how to do the driving directions thing. So, does micro niche websites rank better than websites with multiple topics? Not in my, if you mean like a sniper site versus an authority site, in my opinion, authority sites work better. But you can still, if you do your keyword research well, you can still snipe off an affiliate site, or a niche site with just a few pages. So, man, I really burned through those questions. All right, I'm going to take a drink of water while the questions load back up. How's the Webmasters Academy coming, Jim? How's that going?
It's really on the back burner currently, which is unfortunate. But I got a little shiny object syndrome, not going to lie. With that content press, we were at the point where we were like at 95% completion, and I kind of just, focused on getting that up and running before it waited too long. So pulled some resources off of that, but we're probably going to kick it back up again next week or so.
Cool. Actually, since there's only a couple questions in there right now, can you talk a little bit about the GDPR regulations?
Oh, Jesus Christ. This is probably the most confusing and most frustrating thing that I've dealt with in the past probably 2 weeks. There exists this weird thing on the internet where as soon as anything happens, everyone starts freaking out about it until something else happens, and then they forget entirely. Right now, that's the GDPR thing. Basically, what it means is that you need to identify any way that you use or store people's data. So if you collect email addresses, you need to make sure that you tell them why, and you actually have a valid reason for it, and you don't do anything malicious with it. If you collect their names, their birth dates, you need to be able to kind of track down and prove all the places on your website that you've collected this information, that people have known what their information is actually being used for, and that if you're ever needed to reproduce it, you can, as long as also including all the records telling people where that information came from, where you stored it, etc. So for the most part, a lot of the things you're using like Google Analytics are pretty compliant. There is an option in there to turn off IP information for anyone in the EU, which I'd recommend doing. But apart from that, having a good privacy policy on your site, just identifying the fact that you do or can use cookies for, like Facebook pixels, Google Analytics, AdSense, things like that. Just making sure you have that information visible on your site in some way, shape, or form is really the good first step. And if you have any, legitimate concerns about data safety or things like that, you can always ask. But for the most part, if you're not doing anything super scammy, you shouldn't really have too much of a concern.
It's kind of how I interpret it too. Not a lawyer, and I talked to one lawyer about it, and he didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So, because he wasn't really that kind of lawyer. But anyway, that's good to know. That was kind of my interpretation of it too, so that makes me feel better. But yeah, people have definitely overreacted, in my opinion. Waleed says, what's your thoughts on the 3 tiers country SEO market? North Africa. I don't really know much about it. Tony says, the Google guaranteed listings that are really just ads. To me, that is a good thing for SEOs because that means the better you are at your craft, the more valuable you're going to be because it's going to be harder to get that organic space. That data has shown over and over again. People still prefer to ads. So hone your craft. Don't just think it's okay to buy services, but have a plan and use the right services and get good at what you do. A lot of SEOs I meet and a lot of I talk to, and I talk to a lot of them, don't really want to learn how to do SEO. And it baffles me. And I'm going to get on a bit of a soapbox here, but like, you wouldn't want a chef that doesn't know how to make gourmet meals. You wouldn't want a plumber that doesn't know how to fix pipes. If you're an SEO, you need to learn how to do SEO, and you need to have the pride to want to master it. So learn to do SEO, and you can really well, and you can counteract that sort of change. So do you want to add anything to that?
No, that's, it's pretty standard. I think doing the right thing and focusing on your product is really the right way to grow it, and not worry too much about anything else.
Yeah. Asim says, I'm always glad when Asim comes here because he really brings the good questions. Not that everybody doesn't, but he has lots. And it makes it easier to do a Q&A when there's lots of Q. So do you guys recommend adding every site of mine to a free Cloudflare account for the sake of security and using the CDN? If I use a separate account for each site I own, will that remove any footprint from all these sites are owned by me? I'll let Jim take that, and I have something I want to add as well.
I'm going to be totally honest and say I have no idea what the question was. So if you could repeat that, because I was totally sidetracked.
Oh, sorry. That's okay. Do you guys recommend adding every site of mine to a free Cloudflare account for the sake of security and using the CDN? If I use a separate account for each site I own, will that remove any footprint that all these sites are owned by me?
All right. So, it's probably a 2-part question. But part 1 for safety and security, yeah, there's no real downside to that. Using Cloudflare for a CDN and any of the security benefits they do include is definitely helpful. As far as a footprint, I personally probably wouldn't put every single site on a CDN because then it does kind of look like, they're all following the same pattern. So you may want to mix and match or, try different ones. But, Chris, you could probably verify me if I'm off track on that one.
Yeah, but basically that's what I was going to say is wouldn't worry so much about putting them under the same Cloudflare account because Google can't see that information. But I wouldn't put it on all of them because that's definitely a pattern. So that's how I look at it. I use it on all my money sites for sure. But as far as like PBNs and like lesser important sites, it's probably not worth it. Dwayne says, any chance there's a plan to go mobile app for Legiit, which would be such a time saver to be able to log in and get shit done from my phone?
Yeah. So right now we're just kind of weighing out the options as far as which direction to push forward in, and know what the most useful thing is. As of right now, the mobile site is, pretty compatible. So I don't know that it's going to be a huge difference. I think we really want to address some of the other issues first. Some of the simpler things like sorting, file uploads, etc.
Messages.
Once we get past those, it's certainly in the plans.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say too, is that getting like the UI and UX experience down as well as possible and things like that are more important. And then definitely we'll start with the cool shit that's going to separate us from everybody else. So, will there be any PPC or AdWords training in the academy? There will definitely be some Facebook ads, but I don't know PPC well enough to teach it. But if you ask Jeff, if he does, then we can. Or I can try and get Craig or somebody else that's good at PPC to add some. So if there's a demand for that, I'll definitely get someone that can do it. So I want to make sure that you have a complete experience. So if there's enough people that need that, or if you need it specifically, I'll find you somebody. But if there's enough people, then yeah, I'll get it. That was kind of a vague answer. Sometimes my whole career in politics flares back up. Jason says, thanks, Chris. Ordered Robbie's gig. Follow-up question to my last question about filtering in Google My Business. Have you ever tested using a radius versus selecting individual cities within your radius and listing those, or listing zip codes, etc.? Not sure how you would add individual cities. So that might be a good question for Jeff if he's on. He might be able to answer that for you. Because I'm not 100% sure how to answer that. Will there ever be gig sorting functionality, sort by rating, sales, newest, etc. on Legiit categories? I think that would be pretty, yeah, I can say yeah to that. What do you think?
I agree.
Thank you for everyone for not asking when a certain thing will be done, because that's like the hardest question to answer. So. Maminder says, is sharing some content text from our website to different social media channels a good SEO practice? It's not a bad SEO practice. Like, they expect you to do that. If you have like a post on your blog, they expect you to share it on your Facebook and stuff like that. So it might help drive some traffic back to it, and it's not going to hurt you. In fact, there may be an option coming soon that'll make all of that much easier, right, Jim?
That is correct, sir.
So thank you for setting me up like that. Asim says, Jim, what tool do you rely on to check how well your site is optimized? Recently, I got different results from different tools. Jeff gave an excellent explanation on that. So I decided to use GTmetrix, and if everything is A, then I leave it as is. Then I check the mobile optimization test, and that's all. Any further recommendations?
Yes, I definitely use GTmetrix and Pingdom tools, the two of those primarily. I don't really find the responsiveness test to be all that effective in Google. It's helpful, but I don't, get a lot of answers out of it. So I do check it, but GTmetrix and Pingdom tools are going to be my first go-tos.
The only thing I would add to that is, obviously Jim knows more about it than I do, but at least passing the Google part of it is important, I think, just because Google is telling you that they're okay with what you've got. So
yeah, 100%. I mean, I definitely check it, and it's important to be good, but they just don't have really the same quality of data, I don't think, at least as the others.
Yamil says, do I need to do anything different to target a website in another country? My client has new website, but wants to target Milan, Florence, and Rome. Yes, go into Webmaster Tools. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's like preferred language or preferred country or something like that. That will tell Google that you want to focus on traffic from those countries. And then there's an HTML tag. Is it like rel languages or something, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, that you need to set. So Jet says, yes, there will. It coming in ecom. I assume he's talking about the PPC there. So there you go, Tyler. Jeff says you cannot list separate cities, only add them in descriptions. That's kind of what I thought. So I wanted to make sure I was answering that right. But yeah, so there you go. Jason says, hey, Chris, I just meant in the Google My Business dashboard under location address section. Yeah, I think that's what Jeff was just answering for you. But if you guys can connect on that, he's definitely better to answer that than I am. I don't really want to open the link while I'm on here because I get distracted and then I stop talking and it's weird. Jeff says, Webmaster Tools preferred region. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Emil says, thanks. Thanks, Emil. Tyler says, thanks. Thanks, Tyler. Manminder says, I'm working on a website which publishes upcoming events. And when an event expires, what should I do with that page? Should I redirect it to something else? What is your recommendation to manage those pages which expire with time and have chances to get back in the future? That's kind of up to you. My thing is, if they rank and they bring in traffic to your site, even if the event is expired, you've got them on your site and you've got a chance for them to see what else you're doing, what other events you have going on, that sort of thing. So maybe you could, you would probably have to do this programmatically, but you might be able to do something like, sorry, this event is expired, but come over here and check out what we have coming up next week. Something like that. I think that's probably how I would go. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, I would keep, most of the content on the page, but, just make a note that the event is passed and try and redirect them to the next one that's most applicable.
Yeah, you might as well take advantage of, the fact that they're there, like, since we kind of caught up on questions, I'll go off on a little rant. That's like one of the most important things you can do in business in general is leverage things. So for example, if you've got them there, you can leverage that into more business or more event attendees or whatever the site does. Leverage every tool you have at your disposal, every person that you meet, every opportunity you have to get in front of someone, and you never know what it's going to lead to. This conversation we're having today is a great example of that. I met Jim when he bought a service on another site from me that was like $16. And now look at what we've been able to do together. So everything in your life is an opportunity. So think about everything you do and how you can take advantage of that opportunity. So that's the end of that rant. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, best $16 ever spent.
Yeah, same here. Best $16 I ever made. And the same thing with Jeff. Like, that's how I met Jeff also. And now we got the academy together and we really helped, not to pat myself on the back, but I'm very proud of how we've been able to help people and the people we're going to be able to help in the future. So Naminder says that's the best answer I get. Oh, well, I'm glad that was helpful. Asim says, thanks, Chris, for the compliment and encouraging me to raise all my questions. I truly appreciate that. No problem, buddy. I'm glad you're here. On checking my site with Google, some recommendations are hosting related where I have no control on them. Tim, could you please recommend 3 to 5 hosting companies which would make my life easier with all these server related configurations?
I'm guessing I'll take that one.
Well, you did say Tim, so.
I would say definitely Flywheel is a favorite of mine. So you'll have a very good experience there. Beyond that, it's a crapshoot. I mean, SiteGround is another one that I'd highly recommend. You're going to get decent experience with something like Bluehost or GoDaddy if you pay for the larger plans, but you're going to be paying a lot and not getting much in return. If you're hosting WordPress only, I would definitely recommend checking out Flywheel. I'm sure we could throw up a link somewhere. But between that and SiteGround, those are definitely 2 very reliable and stress-free ones that I think you can check out.
I feel like GoDaddy used to be a lot better. Like at some point they started having their support people be salespeople also. And I feel like that really hurt. What the main hook that they had was that they were easy and that they had good support. And now I like cringe when I have to call their support. So.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what we were talking about before, as far as maintaining your reputation and your quality of service. They obviously have a very big market and a very big name in that market, but they've kind of degraded that service so much that it's not even worth it anymore. Even
right.
You're going to pay a lot less for them compared to someone like Flywheel, but you get a much higher quality of service, and they're losing traffic left and right to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and my experience with them lately has been very poor, like the other day. Meninder says, I saw some websites using same short description on their product pages, but changing only product name and they are ranking well. Isn't that counted as copy content? No, I don't think so. First of all, duplicate content is a myth anyway. But in something like that, I mean, the description of a product, there's only so much you can do with it. Like, it is what it is, right? Like, if it's a blue toaster versus a red toaster, there's no reason you should have to change anything but the color. I don't know why you would buy a blue or a red toaster, but it was just an example. So I don't think that's a problem. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a red toaster, but apart from that, I agree.
Really?
Yeah.
Pixar, you're lying.
Okay.
All right. Caught up. We got any more questions, guys? Been a good session so far. I'm enjoying this. It's also the first one I've had in a long time without any technical difficulties. So, all right, we'll give it another minute or two, see what else you got. Otherwise, we can start wrapping up. Alan says, regarding website speed, how do you remove the question mark in the query string in the static resources?
Really isn't going to make much of a difference at all, but depending upon whether it's a WordPress site or not, some like WP Rocket, which is a plugin that I'd recommend using if it is a WordPress site, there's actually a setting for that.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Zara says, hey, where do you start to find keywords for blog article ideas? My site is new, so using Webmaster Tool won't help much. Plus, even when I use Toast, I assume that means Yoast, to help, I have like real low traffic. I hope to use my traffic for future business. The first place you want to start is just by knowing your niche and figuring out like what people are talking about. Maybe hit up Google News and Google Trends. So that's a good place to start. Keyword, there's a variety of keyword tools. Everybody and their uncle has a different opinion on them. SERP has a really good one. And then a good one for like creating articles is keywordtool.io, because they have where you can put in a keyword and have it generate questions. So like if you put in weight loss, it might give you titles that you can use, like how to lose weight loss as a 40-year-old man that's a vegetarian or something like that. So that's a great tool to use for that sort of thing. Those rank really well and they help people. Yeah, and just knowing what you're into. Like if whatever you're blogging about, I would assume that it's something that you have knowledge of or interested in. So just talk about that. And not every article even has to be, I want to say, to rank. Like you do want to optimize them, but sometimes you just want supporting articles to flesh out a site as well. So that's something I got from Tim Schmidt, that you don't have to make every article a home run. It can be a support, like a tiered structure where you have like a big article and then a few supporting articles. So hopefully that answered that for you. Asim says, Chris, in response to your statement about adding all your money sites to a CDN, if you have two sites in the same or similar niches, would you still add both of them? Yes. Also, if you follow the same SEO steps on both sites, would the CDN and the similar SEO practices leave a footprint that you are the owner of both sites? No. No, as long as you're doing your SEO the smart way, having a couple of sites in Cloudflare isn't going to matter, because Cloudflare has, hundreds of thousands of sites in it. So you or two are not going to raise any eyebrows. So even, as a matter of fact, a lot of times with Cloudflare, you're going to get the same couple of name servers. So I wouldn't sweat it. Manminder says, does the domain's exact matching with keyword rank well than other brand name domains of that particular keyword used in domain? It's domain's exact match with rank. So you're asking if exact match domains rank better than branded domains? The answer is yes, but there are advantages to branded domains too. Like exact match domains give you a nice ranking pop, but especially for local, they don't make a lot of sense. So, cityservice.com will rank a little faster, but it's not a real business, so it may turn people away. So hopefully that makes sense. So there are advantages and disadvantages to both. So hopefully that helps. All right, guys. Go a couple more minutes. Still got a lot of people on, but the questions just seem to be slowing down a bit. So I'll use this opportunity to plug some things. Next week, I'm going to be live in Mandy's group, Mod Agency Insiders. I'm going to be doing some SEO stuff over there with her, so I'm looking forward to that. So definitely check that out. Next week, we're going to have Scott Allen on as our guest. So he's going to be talking about like niching down your SEO agency and along with some other things. And he also is the artist that created that. So thank you for that. We got any more questions, guys? I'll give it another minute or two. Otherwise, we'll start to wrap up. All right, guys. Jim, do you want to say anything else?
No, just thank you all for the opportunity to come out here and answer some questions. I always appreciate the conversations. And definitely, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out. Always happy to help.
Gotcha. One last question, and then we're going to wrap it up. On the foundation links and when to start kicking off the PBN, I used to start firing off PBNs when I see that 50% or more of my foundation links are indexed. So I'm sure that Google is aware of them. Nowadays, while Google is acting up with the indexing, what would trigger me to start PBN work? I mean, how can I make sure that I have enough foundation links before starting more advanced SEO practice lessons like press releases and PBNs? I don't worry too much about them indexing. I would just get them done and then just wait a week or two and then just start with the heavy hitters. So, can we add tags in Legiit in the order screen? Order screen. Not sure what you mean by that. I don't know. Does that make sense to you, Jim?
It does not. I'm confused by that as well.
Okay. Yeah, if you can clear that up, we'll answer that for you. But all right, guys. Like I said, that's pretty much it. Next week, we're going to have Scott on. Let's thank Jim when you get a chance for joining us here. And James, if you can just ask me later, I'll get an answer for you. But all right. Well, thanks for being here. I know you're a busy man, and I appreciate you taking the time out of it. Thank all of you for being here. I know everybody's busy and running their business and their lives. So it means a lot to me that you take the time to hang out with me. And do me a favor and follow me on Instagram at Superstar SEO. I'm really trying to work on that. I'm really enjoying that. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.